Good afternoon and welcome to Rensselaer. I am John Kolb, the Vice President for Information Technology and Services and Chief Information Officer here at Rensselaer. And today I have the privilege and pleasure of introducing a distinguished group of technology leaders that have in different ways contributed to bringing Rensselaer to the Petascale level of computing. This has been made possible by the unique and unquestionably strong partnership between Rensselaer and IBM. But first, I would like to introduce you to the newest team member, a real superstar, who we know will play well with others to take our unique research computing ecosystem to the next level. After the name is unveiled, we have a distinguished group of speakers, as I said, who will provide some insights into how the system will be used. So here it is. So you're about to find out why we're so excited about Amos, the advanced multiprocessing optimized system, and its ability to help fuel the world-class research we conduct here at Rensselaer, which continues to have global reach and global impact. Now, as Paul Harvey used to say, our speakers will tell you the rest of the story. Our first speaker is, it's my pleasure to formally introduce her, the Honorable Dr. Shirley Jackson, who is President of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Dr. Jackson has held senior leadership positions in government, industry, research, and the academy. Her research and policy focus includes energy security and the national capacity for innovation, including addressing the quiet crisis of looming gaps in science, technology, and engineering workforce, and reduced support for basic research. That seems to be particularly poignant at this point in our history. Dr. Jackson serves on the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, PCAST, appointed by President Obama in 2009. She is co-chair of the President's Innovation and Technology Advisory Committee, PTAC, which is part of PCAST. President of Rensselaer since 1999, she has led an extraordinary transformation of the Institute with an ambitious strategic effort known as the Rensselaer Plan, with a new updated plan known as the Rensselaer Plan 2024. Under her leadership, the Institute has been positioned for a day just like today when, because of our stellar faculty, students, facilities, our commitment to interdisciplinary research, our strong partnerships, and our focus on transforming the world around us. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the 18th President of Rensselaer, the Honorable Dr. Shirley Jackson.
Well, good afternoon. And thank you very much, John. Welcome, everybody. You know, Amos Eaton would be very proud of today of the school that he helped to establish with Stephen Van Rensselaer as we celebrate the arrival of yet another key element of the unique computational ecosystem that is coalescing here at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. This ecosystem is a combination of remarkable infrastructure, crucial partnerships, and towering talent in our faculty, our students, our staff, talent that is allowing Rensselaer to lead the way in a new era of computation, and beyond that, into a new era of computationally driven discovery and innovation in every field. And with our advanced multiprocessing optimized system, or Amos, Rensselaer now enters the petascale computing era. Earlier in the year, our 16 racks of IBM Blue Gene L, which already represented one of the most powerful university-based supercomputers in the country, and still held its own in the world, they were replaced by initially 2 racks of IBM Blue Gene Q, but now we have moved to 5 racks for a supercomputer with a combined processing power of essentially 1.1 petaflops, or a quadrillion floating point operations per second. Now, others will tell you a little bit more what that really means, but I'll tell you in the simple way. That is nearly 150,000 calculations per second for every man, woman, and child on Earth. So in unscientific terms, it's a huge number. Now, our new supercomputer vaults into the top 4 most powerful university-based supercomputers in the United States and the top among the top 12 university-based supercomputers in the world. Now, it is in fact the most powerful university-based supercomputer in New York State, throughout the Northeast as well, and it is the only supercomputer with such a capacity at an American private university, and one that came about purely with private support and private funds. Thank you. Now, Amos honors the academic father of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, Amos Eaton. So it's an excellent name for our truly supercomputer. Now, we have to credit this marvelous moniker to an alumnus and a student. To alumnus Mark Wojcik of the Rensselaer class of 1991, and to our student, Benjamin Vreeland, who won our naming contest. Now, Mark, who lives in Colorado and is vice president of engineering at an electronic monitoring company, is not with us today, but I would ask Ben to join me here. Thank you. Now, Ben will receive his BS degree in computer science and his MS in human-computer interaction in the spring. So, Ben, I just want to give you this gift and ask you to please accept it on behalf of all of us. It is a gift to the Rensselaer campus, fill in the blank, computer store. And so we are very grateful for your aptness and your cleverness. I think a round of applause is in order. Obviously, the speed and power of Amos is important. Immense calculations that previously might have taken weeks or months now can be done during a coffee break. However, speed alone does not begin to describe what is special about this machine. It also is massively networked and interactive within itself, allowing not only extremely large questions to be answered, but also extremely complex ones that require hundreds of thousands of simultaneous tasks orchestrated towards a single end. Now, the degree of high-performance internal networking, along with the advanced parallel storage of the supercomputer, make it an extremely useful tool in this era of petabyte-scale data generation and analysis, and is a cornerstone and undergirding platform for the Rensselaer Institute for Data Exploration and Applications, or the Rensselaer IDEA, which we launched this past spring. The Rensselaer IDEA, headed by our Constellation professor, James Hendler, is bringing together Rensselaer talents in high-performance computing, cognitive computing, web science, data analytics, and visualization and immersive technologies, and is intended to maximize the ability of our researchers and students in every field to harness the expanding possibilities for discovery and innovation in this, our data-driven, web-enabled, supercomputer-powered, globally interconnected world. And it is the result of intellectual horsepower that we have put together over the life of the first Rensselaer plan, a plan that in fact brought us the Tetherless World Constellation, where Jim is a senior constellation professor, where Professor Deb McGinnis is also a senior constellation professor, and Professor Peter Fox. And they are doing amazing work when it comes to cognitive computing, developing semantic technologies and applications built on them. And so I'm going to ask Jim and Deb, and if Peter is here, to stand and be recognized. And they have drawn to them amazing, equally amazing students and postdocs. And so I want us, as we talk about this amazing infrastructure, that we keep in mind that it is all about supporting brilliant people doing important things. Now, I'm going to say a little bit more about the significance of the horsepower and balance of our new supercomputer in a moment. But first, I want to point out that our supercomputer namesake, Amos Eaton, a botanist and geologist, in case some of you students want to be double majors, was a zealous collector and analyzer of data for his time. And he conducted significant geological and agricultural surveys across New York State. He also was an important innovator in scientific education, insisting that students learn by doing, by collecting data in the field, by experimenting in the laboratory, and by preparing lectures for their peers and their professors. In other words, he essentially pioneered the studio classroom idea and approach that we still use today. Amos Eaton also believed in data-driven discovery. So we're an interesting institution because it says that we somehow had visionary founders, and we have carried through their vision through to today with the very powerful tools that we're here to talk about this afternoon. Now, as opposed to Amos the person, Amos the machine is a meaningful part of Amos the person's approach, the approach that we have today. Because at Rensselaer, we're very unusual in allowing a large number of our undergraduates to learn and innovate on such powerful supercomputers. It helps us to attract some of the most brilliant, incipient young computer scientists in the United States and to prepare them to shape the future. Further, it allows our emerging scientists, engineers, artists, architects, and business students to do remarkable things as well. Now, I want to personally thank John Kolb, our Vice President for Information Services and Technology and Chief Information Officer, and Professor Chris Caruthers, the Director of our High Performance Computing Center, as well as their teams for laying the groundwork for the arrival of Amos. And I want to ask you all to stand and be with us. Now, many of you were here when we announced earlier this year that Watson was enrolling at Rensselaer. Now, Watson, of course, is the remarkable IBM cognitive computing system that in 2011 used its natural language processing abilities and inference engines to vanquish the best human champions at Jeopardy. Now, there was some question at the time as to whether Watson would have a roommate. So today, I give you the answer. The answer is yes. Amos and Watson will be roomies. They will room together at our High Performance Computing Center. Now, this is only fitting as Watson is named for the founder of IBM, Thomas J. Watson, Sr. And Rensselaer and IBM rather like having systems named for our founders residing together even, because Rensselaer and IBM both are pioneers in supercomputing, and importantly, partners in computing endeavors actually dating back nearly 2 decades to the IBM SP2. In fact, as we said at the time, Rensselaer graduates at IBM were very important and seminal in developing the Watson system. Now, in more recent years, our key IBM counterpart in our explorations and developments has been Dr. John E. Kelly III, whom you will hear from shortly, who is the director of IBM Research Worldwide, as well as a Rensselaer alumnus and a distinguished member of the Rensselaer Board of Trustees. Now, I have to tell you that Dr. Kelly recently was elected to membership in the U.S. National Academy of Engineering for his extraordinary contributions to the United States semiconductor industry. I want to thank him for his extraordinary contributions to Rensselaer. John, please stand and be recognized. The IBM partnership with us was the linchpin that enabled Rensselaer to launch our high-performance computing center, the Computational Center for Nanotechnology Innovations, in 2006, with the support of New York State. Now, I have to tell you that we have come a long way since then. Research on the supercomputer has extended well beyond nanotechnology into fields that range from biotechnology and medicine to energy. Therefore, today, I am pleased to announce that in addition to welcoming Amos, we are renaming our high-performance computing center the Center for Computational Innovations, or the CCI. Can you repeat after me? The Center for Computational Innovations, or the CCI. Now, the unique combination of Amos and Watson in the CCI will help Rensselaer to further achieve the overarching goal we have set for ourselves as we approach our bicentennial, the 200th anniversary of our founding, with the Rensselaer Plan 2024, and our intent to be a transformative force with global impact. And we are creating the tools at the CCI that will allow us to address the grand global challenges around food, energy, and water security, human health, climate impacts, national security, global security, and the allocation of scarce national resources and natural resources, but importantly on a scale that will improve many, many lives. Now, I mentioned a new era in computation, so let me briefly describe our new center's place in it. Thus far, supercomputing has been most useful, of course, for modeling and for simulations, and the speed of Amos will make them more lightning fast, I should say. And we have the talent here to take advantage of that speed. This year, for instance, scientists led by Professor Caruthers, joining forces with colleagues at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, set a new supercomputer simulation speed record, decisively smashing the old record of doing 12 billion events per second, with a new record of 504 billion events per second. But we also have professors and researchers across many fields ready to use Amos to change the world. In fact, they already have begun. As just one among many examples, Professor of Physics, Constellation Chair, and Head of the Department of Physics, Applied Physics, and Astronomy, Dr. Angel Garcia, is using massively parallel molecular dynamics simulations to investigate protein and RNA folding. That's important in so-called prion-based diseases. He's doing this in part to better understand the molecular pathology of diseases such as Alzheimer's, so that we can develop better treatments for them. But with the ability of Amos to balance the needs of both computer and compute-intensive as well as data-intensive applications, we will be able to do such modeling and simulation now at the petascale level. The volume, velocity, and variety of data as well being generated, frankly, are far outrunning almost humanity's capacity to turn it into useful information, but for the existence of the kind of tools we've assembled here. Facebook, for example, has said that it is warehousing half a petabyte, more than half a petabyte at this point, of new data every single day. The sources of data now range from scientific platforms such as the Hubble Space Telescope to teenagers posting vacation photos on Instagram. I'm sure some of you do that. And increasingly include the systems of our physical universe. And that includes things like electric meters, our cars and our running shoes that are equipped with sensors and are networked digitally. You know, within this flood of data, in fact, are the seeds for an enormous amount of discovery and innovation, if only we can find them. The stunning internal networking that John talked about and the storage capacity of Amos will enable us to help develop, in fact, the use of supercomputers in data analytics. And toward that end, a team led by Professor Petros Strinius here at Rensselaer has been awarded a $1 million grant from the National Science Foundation Division of Information and Intelligence Systems to explore new strategies for mining and extracting knowledge from petabyte-scale data using supercomputing. We also will develop powerful synergies in the combination of Amos and Watson, not that they just sit there together. You know, IBM said that it sent Watson to Rensselaer so that it could take classes from us, but more importantly, so that its capabilities could be extended through our research. Now, Rensselaer Idea Director Jim Hendler and his colleagues will move Watson from memory-based artificial intelligence, which is limited to information programmed into the computer's memory, to knowledge-based artificial intelligence, or an ability to access the world of information on the web, to infer from it, and to make decisions based on it as well as stored data in near real time. Now, ultimately, Professor Hendler and his team will use their experience with Watson to expand the possibilities of agent-based modeling. That is, computational models that can simulate the effects on a system of the decision-making of individuals, but do it to the scale of Amos. Now, their eventual intent is to run a Watson cognitive computing system on Amos. You know, John may be dropping his hair on the floor by now. But because the great global challenges are social as much as they are physical, the human implications of merging cognitive computing with supercomputing are enormous. Events as different as the global financial crisis of 2007, 2008, or the Fukushima nuclear meltdown in Japan in 2011, make clear the degree to which we are subject to intersecting vulnerabilities with cascading consequences, which can not only affect, but be affected by human actions and decision-making. Now, giving Amos the capacity to do agent-based modeling will allow us to, for instance, perform economic modeling that could, for example, alert us that offered certain kinds of mortgages, homeowners in certain cities will overextend themselves, setting off a domino effect that will shake world financial markets. We will be able to consider the problem of how human dynamics affect the evacuation of a major city following a major disaster, and these are dynamics involving millions of people, and save many lives. For the first time, we will be able to really design a really smart electric grid that takes into account in a very detailed way the various individual human responses to price incentives and fold them into the right model. In short, we are developing an utterly remarkable computational ecosystem that will allow us to move beyond data mining to more sophisticated predictive analytics and to prescriptive analytics. In other words, we will be able to understand, to describe, and therefore to shape our world with a new degree of precision and sophistication. Now, ultimately, our Rensselaer scientists and engineers intend to do for the supercomputer what the graphical user interface did for the desktop. Now, in case you don't think we do such things, how many of you have NVIDIA on your laptops? Okay. Well, the original graphics processor and accelerator that was the basis of the company NVIDIA was developed by Rensselaer alumnus and trustee Curtis R. Preem, for whom this center is named, because he made so much money. He gave us some of it so we could build this center. But the intent is to make the tools that are developed here broadly available to people who are not software engineers and scientists and computer scientists, but to make them available so that business students, architects, agroecologists, for example, can use those tools to change the world. So the arrival of Amos is truly momentous for Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And given our remarkable people, programs, platforms, and partners, we will make all of this momentous for the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. And by the way, Dr. Jackson, you mentioned, and I'll do one quick thing here, you mentioned the SB2 and our relationship with IBM over 20 years. I want to recognize one of our faculty members who was there at the SB2 leading the way, and is leading the way again with us on the Blue Jean Qs. Mark Shepard is here. Mark, if you'd stand up, I think you ought to be recognized. So, the president mentioned our relationship with IBM. It's my pleasure to introduce John E. Kelly III, who is the IBM Senior President and Director of Research. In this position, he directs the worldwide operations of IBM Research with approximately 3,000 technical employees at 9 laboratories in 7 countries around the world, and helps guide IBM's overall technical strategy. Dr. Kelly's top priority as head of IBM Research is to stimulate innovation in key areas of information technology and quickly bring those innovations into the marketplace to sustain and grow IBM's existing business, to create the new businesses of IBM's future, and to apply these innovations to help the clients of IBM succeed. He received a BS in physics from a place across the river, Union College in 1976. He then moved east, came across the river, and received an MS degree in physics from RPI in 1978, and his doctorate in materials engineering from Rensselaer in 1980. In 2004, he received an honorary doctorate of science from the Graduate School of Union College. Dr. Kelly is on the board of governors of the IBM Academy of Technology, a board member and former chairman of the Semiconductor Industry Association, a fellow of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, and on the board of trustees of both Union College and Rensselaer. He has received numerous technical and business leadership awards, including the semiconductor industry's highest honor, the Robert E. Noyce Award. As President Jackson just mentioned, he was inducted into the National Academy of Engineering this year. And as an aside, I hope he talks about the book that he just co-authored about smart machines, because it is a great read. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Dr. John E. Kelly III.
Well, good afternoon. It is just wonderful to be back here at Rensselaer. This is getting to be a habit, dropping off my children to go to school here at Rensselaer. Seriously, these do begin to feel like your children after you spend a decade or two developing systems like this. And it's great to see them going off for productive use and for growth. I think that today, once again, we reach another major milestone in the Rensselaer-IBM relationship. And as I was thinking about what is different about this relationship, why has it lasted so long, why does it keep expanding, I think it's because we have the same objectives, the same value systems. First, we like great challenges. Secondly, we like to position ourselves where the value is going, where the puck is going versus where it is today. And thirdly, we have an absolute commitment individually and together to lead. Not to follow, not to be with the crowd, but to lead. And I think a fourth one is extremely important, and that is we have a commitment to move at speed. I have never seen a university any place in the world that moves at the speed of Rensselaer. It's very interesting to find an academic institution that moves at industrial speed. Very, very rare in the academic world. These systems, whether we'll be saving water bodies like Lake George, studying healthcare, will be at the nexus of big data and high-performance computing. As Dr. Jackson explained, this is a very unique machine. Yes, it's a big number cruncher, but it also is uniquely positioned in the oncoming world of big data. It has unprecedented memory, unprecedented I/O or input-output capability, and it can process enormous amounts of data. In fact, we see high-performance computing, or HPC as it's lovingly called, becoming high-performance analytics, or high HPA, because of the explosion of data and the need to extract through analytics information from the massive amounts of data. So yes, this machine has 10x the compute power, but it's really custom made for big data. Now, when we look at big data, we're talking big. In fact, we as humans now and the devices we've built and connected are creating so much data that we are literally creating a digital universe. The same number of bits of data are being created as stars in the universe. And so in a sense, what we're looking at here is a telescope or a microscope that we will use to analyze the digital universe that we're creating. Now, President Jackson also mentioned that we're entering a new era of computing, one that we have called cognitive computing, one where we'll no longer be simply programming these computers, but these systems will learn. In fact, just yesterday, as John mentioned, we had a colloquia down at IBM Research where we had Nobel Prize winners, global artificial intelligence researchers and leaders, the inventors of Watson, and some of the most prestigious people from industry and academia. We announced a new initiative, not only with Rensselaer, but with other great institutions such as Carnegie Mellon, MIT, et cetera, to advance the science of cognitive computing. Cognitive computing is different than anything we've seen before. This system, the Watson system, are tailor-made for big data. They are data-centric systems, not just processor-centric systems. They do not necessarily function by just being programmed. They learn. They learn from being trained. They learn from being exposed to data. And again, they're made for very large, very fast, very unstructured data. So I think when we stand back and look at what we've created here in the platforms that we've placed here, I think this is a wonderful case of the sum is much more valuable than just the parts. Amos, of course, has immense calculation and memory capability. Watson has leadership in the world capability around learning machines. No place else in the world do two systems with these capabilities exist, not even in my labs in IBM Research. And I think the third piece of this, which is incredibly important for cognitive computing, which will completely change the human-system interaction, is the building we sit in today. MPAC is all about the intersection of technology and the human endeavor. I think when we put together Amos, Watson, and MPAC, we have an unbeatable combination around which we can innovate. Now, we talked a lot about flops and memory and bits and bytes, but in the end, it's all about what these systems will do. I believe these systems will be the solution to many of the most difficult challenges we face in healthcare at places like Mount Sinai, Sloan Kettering, Albany Medical Center just this week. Environmental sustainability from Lake George to the world's oceans in projects such as the Jefferson Project. There isn't a single industry that won't be transformed with cognitive computing. So we at IBM, and I am extremely pleased to have Rensselaer as a partner, a deep partner, and a long-standing partner. Together, we are really going to change the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Now I know why all the IBM researchers are calling us up to get access to the RPI systems. I think for a price, is that how I'm supposed to say that, Dr. Jackson? Yeah, yeah, I'm learning. Our last speaker this afternoon is Professor Chris Caruthers, who is a faculty member in the Computer Science Department. Additionally, Professor Caruthers serves as the director for the Rensselaer, very good, Center for Computational Innovations, or CCI. He received his PhD, MS, and BS from the Georgia Institute of Technology in 97, 96, and 91, respectively. Prior to joining Rensselaer, he was a research scientist at the Georgia Institute of Technology. Professor Caruthers is an NSF Career Award winner, as well as Best Paper Award winner at the PADS workshop for 99, 2003, and 2009. Since joining Rensselaer, he has secured about $7 million in research funding from agencies including the NSF, the U.S. Department of Energy, the Army Research Laboratory, the Air Force Research Laboratory, as well as several companies including IBM, General Electric, and AT&T. His simulation research involves the creation of high-fidelity models of extreme scale, wireless and wired networks, and computer systems. As an aside, Chris and I were talking the other day about, with this capability, we think we may be able to, Chris may be able to model the entire internet. Just let that one sink in for a while. He is co-author, as the president said, of the paper Warp Speed, Executing Time Warp on 1,966,080 cores. This is the largest and fastest discrete event simulation on computers ever performed and documented. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our director of the CCI, Dr. Chris Caruthers.
Thanks so much, John. So, are you excited? All right, I think we can be a little louder. Are you excited? All right. So let me begin by trying to put into context just how powerful our new supercomputer Amos really is. If you start with the number 1 million, multiply it by 1,000, that is 1 billion. Now let's do that a second time. If you take 1 billion, multiply it by 1,000, that is 1 trillion. Now let's do that a third time. If you take 1 trillion, multiply it by 1,000, that number is 1 quadrillion, and that's the number of calculations or floating point operations per second, or flops, Rensselaer's newest supercomputer Amos is capable of generating. So what is Amos? Amos is a Blue Gene Q supercomputer that has 5,120 compute nodes, with each node having a custom, power-efficient IBM A2 processor with 17 cores and 16 gigabytes of RAM per node, or 80 terabytes of RAM for the whole system. Now, 16 of the 17 cores are dedicated to performing a user's parallel computation, but the 17th core is reserved exclusively for operating system functions, which dramatically improves the scalability of applications. In short, this is a hero-run machine designed to efficiently execute jobs that use a significant fraction of the whole 5-rack system. Let me elaborate on this a little further. As you've heard, Rensselaer is the first university in the world to have the Watson cognitive computing software to use in our research and education programs. So then how does Amos compare with the hardware used to execute the Jeopardy champion version of Watson? It turns out the Jeopardy version of Watson could fit in just 1 of 5 racks of Amos, leaving the other 4 racks to execute other compute jobs. This underscores the incredible data-intensive compute capacity of Amos. Now, what really puts the super in the Amos supercomputer is the network. The network is what enables the compute nodes to interact by exchanging messages at a mind-blowing rate. The Blue Gene Q network is a 5-dimensional torus which connects each of its 5,120 compute nodes with 10 links each capable of sending and receiving data at a rate of over 1 gigabyte per second each. If you were to slice this machine in half, and don't worry, we won't actually do it, you would cut through over 4 terabytes of network bandwidth. That's more bandwidth than available to a combined 2 million home internet subscribers. It is this high degree of interactivity across hundreds of thousands of tasks within a single massively parallel calculation that distinguishes a supercomputer like Amos from other cluster and cloud computing systems. Further still, Amos, our Amos Blue Gene system, has an advanced massively parallel 1 quadrillion or petabyte disk storage system that can read and write data at over 15 gigabytes per second, and a unique data caching layer that can move data in and out of Amos at a rate of 50 gigabytes per second. This combination of powerful compute, network, and parallel file system storage provides Rensselaer with a highly balanced supercomputer system that is capable of meeting the needs of both compute and data-intensive applications. With this new capability, it is only fitting we change our facility's name to reflect both the balance and breadth of current and future research activities. We are excited to now rename our supercomputer facility, what is it? The Center for Computational Innovation, CCI. Now, the CCI's core mission is solving problems for next-generation basic and applied science and engineering research through the use of massively parallel computation and data analytics, and has the 5 major thrusts shown in the picture above. So, then what massively parallel computing and data-intensive applications will be happening at the CCI? For starters, Amos has already been extensively used over the past year in its previous smaller form by Rensselaer faculty and students. It's provided computational and data analytic capabilities to externally funded research projects whose total value exceeds $42 million. We expect to double that amount over the next 5 years. Let me provide some specific examples of the great things that are happening on Amos. First, recent Rensselaer computer science doctoral graduate and the first Shirley Jackson and Morris Washington Protrude Fellow, Jesse Weaver, in collaboration with his advisor, Professor Jim Hindler, used our Blue Gene Q to set the record for massively parallel rule-based inferencing of semantic web data. The previous record was done on a Cray system. That's okay. This parallel inferencing approach will be part of a much larger core suite of algorithms and approaches that will be applied to our new Institute for Data Exploration and Applications. Led by Professor Hindler, IDEA will create and leverage methods from computational science and engineering, data science, and the IBM Watson cognitive computing system to facilitate predictive analysis of vast data stores across a number of application domains. Example domains include healthcare analytics, business intelligence, built in natural environments, cognition, cybersecurity, and material science, just to name a few. Now, another example is Professor Dan Lewis, an NSF Career Award winner. His research is using Amos to model and unravel the mystery surrounding how Mother Nature designs materials. In order to accomplish this task, use of a petascale computer like Amos is absolutely necessary to simulate a large enough domain to gather good statistics. This research will lead to new materials and processing routes for fabricating these materials. Additionally, Professor Mark Shepard, director of the Scientific Computing Research Center, has DOE, Department of Energy, National Science Foundation, NIH, DOD, and industry-funded research in the area of massively parallel adaptive computations, where he develops new methods or new models and methods for linking simulations across multiple time and size scales in order to extend and improve the accuracy of scientific and engineering simulations. Professor Shepard's methods and tools, coupled with Amos, are being used to enable the design of better energy systems, such as the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, and perform high-fidelity simulation analysis of coronary arteries to aid in the determination of which patients may benefit from stenting, to name a few specific examples. Now, just because we dropped the name doesn't mean we're not still doing groundbreaking work in nanotechnology. Far from it, Professor Vincent Meunier is using Amos to explore the fundamental electronic transport properties in nanomaterials such as graphene and graphene nanoribbons. This research will lead to the creation of new semiconductor devices and manufacturing processes. Now, as for myself, I'm not just the director, but a massively parallel simulation researcher with a sharp eye on the future of high-performance computing. Funded by the Department of Energy, computer science PhD student Misbah Mubarak and I are collaborating with Dr. Rob Ross and Philip Carnes from the Argonne National Laboratory and are using Amos to model future exascale systems, a system that will be 1,000 times more powerful than Amos, with a particular focus on network and exabyte, or 1,000 petabytes, of storage. Additional future applications include Professors Onkar Sahani and Mickey Amate will be using advanced computational fluid dynamics with experimental methods to improve the stability and efficiency of wind energy turbine systems through the creation of smart wind turbine blades. Also, Professor Shepard, Oberoi Sahani, and our Vice President John Kolb are funded by the National Science Foundation's Partnership for Innovation programs to investigate new high-performance computing workflow techniques like those being developed by our CCI and SCORIC computational scientist Cameron Smith to better enable industry to efficiently use supercomputing systems like Amos. And speaking of industry, the CCI currently has active engagements with Boeing, Corning, GNS, IBM, Kitware, Procter & Gamble, Symmetrics, to name a few. On the education front, the CCI offers graduate and undergraduate students the unique opportunity to gain hands-on experience in developing massively parallel software. Since 2008, over 350 students have taken CCI-related courses. We expect this number to grow to over 1,000 with hands-on experience in the next 5 years. So my takeaway message to our region, nation, and the world is that Rensselaer is not just ready to enter the petascale era, but to change the world for the better in doing so. And in closing, I want to extend a thank you to President Jackson and Dr. Kelly for their vision and leadership in the creation of Rensselaer's advanced multiprocessing optimized system, Amos. Please join me in giving them a round of applause.